Welcome, everyone, to another Graves Guide for Season 14, Split 3. In this video, I'll walk you through the best runes and builds for Graves, keeping everything up to date from my previous guides. If you need more detailed advice, timestamps are available below, and you can always reach out through my Discord for free coaching. Now, you might be wondering, why an AI voice? It's simple. Using AI saves me a ton of time in editing since I don't have to record and re-record for every mistake. This means faster edits and more content for you. But let me know in the comments if you prefer my real voice. Alright, let's get into it, starting with runes. We're moving away from fleet footwork, which I recommended for all skill levels before. Now, Dark Harvest is the way to go. It's a bit trickier since you lose the healing and movement speed from fleet, but don't worry. Riot's nerfs to fleet made that less noticeable anyway. Dark Harvest will give you better burst potential as you scale. For your secondary runes, Sudden Impact is the standout choice for junglers like Graves. Cheap Shot and Taste of Blood aren't as effective here, so Sudden Impact is the way to go. Then, we've got Eyeball Collection. Perfect for any rank because of the extra AD, helping you snowball faster. Zombie Ward can work if you're playing at Diamond or higher where warding becomes more strategic, but Eyeball is generally better. Next up, Relentless Hunter isn't bad if you prefer more movement speed to get around the map quicker, but I recommend Treasure Hunter. The extra gold from kills is invaluable for Graves, letting you snowball harder and secure key items faster. For secondary trees, Inspiration is fine if you want magical footwear and cosmic insight, but I prefer the Precision tree. Triumph gives you crucial healing after takedowns, keeping you alive in tough fights. Alacrity is a must for the extra attack speed. It just feels great on Graves. Now, onto Rune Shards. The best options are attack speed. Without it, Graves auto attacks feel clunky. You'll also want to take Adaptive Force for a small AD boost, and finally, health scaling is the best choice to keep you tanky as the game progresses. That's it for the runes. I'll be covering builds and jungle pets later, so stick around for that. Let me know in the comments what you think of this setup, and as always, join the Discord if you have any questions. After the green jungle pet nerfs, it's no longer a viable option for Season 14. That leaves us with two good choices, red and blue. Personally, I prefer the blue jungle pet, and I might be a bit biased here, but the movement speed it gives in the mid and late game, especially when paired with Yuma's, feels amazing. It helps you get around the map much faster, which is crucial for making plays. That said, red and blue are pretty equal in value depending on what you need. Red gives you extra damage, while blue provides movement speed. If you're confident in your damage but struggle to catch enemies, blue is your best bet. On the other hand, if you need that bit of extra damage to secure kills, go with red. Against long-range teams, blue also shines, but either choice will work well as long as you avoid the green pet. Now, let's answer one more question before we move on to builds. Should you take a health potion? In the last split, I preferred saving the 50 gold and avoiding risky fights at level 4, especially since I had fleet footwork. But now, with Dark Harvest, I always take an extra health potion. It lets me look for fights at level 4 to start stacking Dark Harvest earlier and snowball harder. Just remember, I'm looking for good fights, not forcing them. If it's a bad fight, it's better to back off than risk dying for 1 or 2 Dark Harvest stacks. Now, let's dive into the builds. I'm going to show you 4 builds that I've been using, all revolving around the recent buffs to Collector. Riot's changes made it a fantastic option for Graves again, so let's get into it. Starting with the core build. Yuma's Ghostblade is still our first item, and now with the Collector buffs, that's your go-to second item. Even with the 10 AD loss, the price reduction makes it the best second item on Graves, hands down. These two items together give you a strong power spike in both damage and map mobility. For the third item, my favorite is Black Cleaver. It offers great stats, adding some extra health and armor shred, which is super important in the tankier meta we're in right now. This combination scales well into the late game, providing a balance of damage and survivability. Now, if your team struggles against tanks, I recommend Lord Dominic's Regards as your third item instead. This is especially useful if your team comp lacks enough damage to shred through tanky enemies. If your team is heavy on AP or has trouble dealing with armor, LDR is the way to go. Alternatively, Mortal Reminder works when the enemy team has a lot of healing. It's straightforward but essential in those situations. The third build option is more aggressive, Infinity Edge. You'll deal massive damage, but at the cost of being very squishy, so only go for this build if you're snowballing hard. This isn't a build you plan for at the start of the game. Go for it if you've got over 6k gold by around 15 minutes and already have Yumas, Collector, and Boots. Be careful, though, dying with this build can throw your shutdown and the game. The final build variant is for when you're ahead against squishy teams and need a bit more defense, Shield Bow. It's a great choice because the crit scaling gives you better damage value compared to Maw of Malmortius. Maw is still a solid pick against heavy AP teams, but 90% of the time, Shield Bow will offer more overall damage. For the first two builds, your fourth and fifth items will be either Shield Bow or Maw, depending on the game, as we discussed earlier. Bloodthirster and Infinity Edge are fantastic as your fourth and fifth items. Another reliable choice for your last item would be Guardian Angel, giving you extra safety in late-game fights. Now for the third and fourth builds, you should always buy an armor penetration item as your fourth pick. These include Black Cleaver, Lord Dominic's Regards, or Mortal Reminder. I know Cyrilda's Grudge is technically a penetration item too, but it doesn't outperform the others I mentioned for Graves. Stick to the core choices. Now let's talk about some situational items that you'll only pick in very specific circumstances. Sometimes you'll see your favorite Graves players build these, like Opportunity as a fourth option if they prefer more lethality over crit. But keep in mind, by the time you're on your fourth item, even percentage armor penetration has a good value against squishy teams, especially when mages are building Zonias or ADCs start having over 100 armor. Another option could be Serpent's Fang if the enemy team has a lot of shields, though usually your AD assassin mid or a pike support would build this. Edge of Night is great for blocking a crucial CC, like a Syndra stun, while Mercurial Scimitar is something you only buy against champions like Malzahar. After Riot removed the ability to leave Mordekaiser's ultimate with it, there's really no other situation where I'd recommend it. Lastly, Rapid Fire Cannon. This item is really only useful in late-game scenarios where you're full build and you want to sell your boots for extra range. It's not a must-buy, but it's nice when you have no better alternatives. Don't forget to pick up an Elixir of Wrath for extra damage or an Elixir of Iron for more health and tenacity when you've maxed out your build. Now let's talk boots. You've got two solid choices, Plated Steel Caps or Mercury's Treads. You might also consider Boots of Swiftness, but that's a rare pick, and you'll probably only build them less than 10% of the time. They're useful if the enemy team has a lot of slows. In general, though, you'll be buying Mercury's Treads in most games since there's almost always a threat of crowd control or magic damage on the enemy team. The decision is simple. Check if the enemy team has 3 or more AP champions in crowd control, then go Mercs. If it's a full AD team comp, or there's a fed auto-attacker, Steel Caps are your best bet. It all comes down to adapting to the enemy team's comp and playstyle. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you found this guide helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to join my Discord for free coaching or just hang out with other Graves players. See you in the next video, and good luck on the Rift.